Welcome to another episode of Talking College Football with JJ Kitchen. Of course, I'm your host, JJ Kitchen. Guys, we have a great topic today, something that has been going through the airwaves quite a bit, especially in terms of the national media that was recently, I heard about 4 days ago, really kind of came out today. It was kind of shocking to see it officially come out, but Apple potentially putting in an offer to buy ESPN is picking up steam. And in terms of the ACC and the SEC and the media rights, in terms with ESPN and Disney, how does all of this work? I have an article to show you today how much that really means and how big of a deal this really is. Before we get started, guys, right down below here, please subscribe to the channel. We are expanding so fast because of the knowledge that we're giving to you guys, but more importantly, you are the ones that are making this happen. Again, we love giving you guys content. We love giving you guys this information that comes out before anything else, before it really starts being talked about in the national media in full depth. Again, subscribe down below, like the video, comment, and share to all your friends. And let's have a discussion in the comment section. I want to hear what your thoughts are, especially on this idea right here. So for number one, guys, before we get into it here, I'm going to pull up an article here which was really interesting to say the least. Okay, I can tell you that for a fact. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Here we go. Okay, I'm pretty sure you guys can see that. But again, Apple's potential acquisition of ESPN continues to attract more supporters as college football viewership in the U.S. is due major changes. Again, guys, August 22nd, this was put out. I heard about this 4 days ago. It's funny, it comes out today, which is huge. I was planning a video on it. It was crazy. But to get into it here, if Apple wants to make its bespoke content streaming service an uncontested behemoth, it should buy ESPN outright, as per the musings of one highly regarded Wall Street analyst. Now, this view is gaining increasing acceptance in the sports circles, making the gambit of all more compelling for Apple. This ball started rolling in July when Disney CEO Bob Iger revealed that the company was searching for strategic partners to expand the ESPN's reach and content library. That revelation then prompted Wedbush Dave's Ives to speculate as to the attractiveness of Apple acquiring ESPN. Guys, again, this was wild when I heard about this. I didn't think it would be coming out this quickly. Do note that Disney owns 80% of ESPN, with the residual 20% owned by Hearst Communications. The company has so far eschewed placing ESPN prime content on the ESPN Plus streaming service due to the billions of dollars that the network continues to attract from traditional cable TV. However, cord cutting is a reality, prompting Disney to explore a fully direct-to-consumer path for ESPN. According to Bloomberg Intelligence, such a pathway could feasibly materialize by 2025, guys, only 2 years away, with ESPN requiring at least 8.1 million subscribers by 2026 at $20 per month to offset the revenue loss from cord cutting. What's more, a direct-to-consumer ESPN content streaming service could even bring advertising revenue of between $6 and $7 per month from each subscriber. In early August, reports emerged that Disney was in early talks with 4 major professional sports leagues in the U.S. to acquire an equity stake in ESPN. Guys, kind of goes in a little bit. That just tells you right there how much in trouble ESPN has been in terms of losses. But back to it here, there is a palpable sense of urgency at Disney, given the fact that the company's own content streaming service, Disney Plus, lost, this is crazy, guys, lost $512 million in the most recent quarter. Okay. The iconic company is also saddled with debt amounting to $44.5 billion. This brings us to the crux of the matter. In an investment note that has contributed to garner quite a lot of attention, Wedbush's Dan Ives wrote last week that Apple's potential acquisition of ESPN was a no-brainer, giving the iPhone manufacturer a sure shot way of gaining valuable sports content, major TV rights across each of the major professional and college sports packages, and change the cross-sell opportunities and attractiveness of Apple TV looking ahead, while Apple on the other sports map globally speaking. According to the Wall Street analyst, the acquisition makes a ton of strategic sense, with the personal relationship between Bob Iger and Apple's Tim Cook only increasing the probability of some sort of deal over the coming years. Apple now has over 1 billion paid subscriptions, with Apple TV Plus retaining just a small sliver of this pie at 50 million paid subscribers. The company has been aggressively adding sports-related content to its library, having secured exclusive streaming rights for Major League Soccer for a 10-year period in June of 2022. MLS season passes have witnessed a significant increase ever since Lionel Messi signed up with Inter Miami. Of course, Apple's acquisition of ESPN would be anything but a walk in the park at around $50 billion. This would be the iPhone manufacturer's largest acquisition ever. For reference, Apple's largest purchase to date is $3 billion that it paid for Beats Electronics. Apple would also have to contend with a host of anti-competition hearings and lawsuits. For those interested in gaining a deeper insight into the lives and views, head over to podcast starting here. Guys, this is really cool for a number of reasons, okay? Obviously, one of the things that was very noticeable in that, okay? It's very much a conversation that's being currently held right now, okay? I think the relationship between Bob Iger and Tim Cook, that the pressure that's really involved right now with ESPN, the cutoffs, the layoffs, guys, that's a massive, massive deal. And in terms of with the SEC has a great deal right now, roughly in between the $70 to $75 million per distribution per team, roughly in that range. ESPN and the ACC all in roughly around the $40 to $45 million mark if you include the NCAA tournament, whatnot. If you take out that media rights really puts ACC at $33 million. Guys, why I say this is a really big idea. The Pac-12 fell apart, and the main contributor, the only person that was really left to help out the Pac-12 was Apple. Apple's original offer, really just throughout the entire process, was $25 million to the remaining Pac teams. If you're wondering, obviously the biggest market teams or the main brand teams in the Pac-12, the remaining, were really Washington and Oregon, because obviously USC, UCLA left. There was really only a Pac-10 left at that point. There wasn't really a major big brands, and they were still willing to give them $25 million even for the smaller brands that were in the Pac-12. Guys, one of the things that was kind of funny, Bob Thompson, who is the former CEO of Fox Sports, recently was on 365 Sports and was talking about this and saying, the potential that Fox Sports, CBS, and NBC really got together, but more importantly, Fox Sports really blocked Apple to stay out of the sports world at this point. And from numerous sources from the outside, and it was funny, I'm in finance, so we hear a lot of stuff that goes around the corner, things that get brought around. This was crazy to hear about because Apple really wants to get involved more with athletics, especially with college sports. Obviously, they're involved with MLS. That's been a huge success for them so far. But you look at Apple TV, the amount of subscribers that are already there, the success is already there. But Apple really, truly wants to get involved now with not just streaming, but also linear. If you're able to take and buy ESPN, now obviously $50 billion is certainly a lot of cash. The good thing is, though, the most in the world today, Apple is the most liquid company, not just in the United States, but in the world. They have plenty of cash, well more than $50 billion. The whole point that goes into this is that the fact that ESPN is in the situation that they're in, but Apple's pursuing it very quickly. Okay. And from sources from behind the scenes, everything, Tim Cook really wasn't too happy with Fox Sports about their actions, about really taking Oregon and Washington from the Pac-12 and really disabling that, and to the point where Apple kind of stayed out of college sports again. This situation right here is the perfect situation for Tim Cook to play chess instead of checkers. If you take this from Disney, you take ESPN from Disney, you have your linear platform, but now you involve it with the millions of people that are already subscribed to Apple Plus. You're really integrating the best of both worlds. You are bringing the best content in college football, okay, whether it's college football, the non-revenue sports, but more importantly, the college football aspect of it, bringing it from not just linear, but right to your phone, right to your computer, laptop, iPad. It doesn't matter. You'll have the option to do both. But in terms of Apple's already doing it, Apple already has people on their platforms, already on their streaming services, to where it makes it easier to where people aren't paying for 2, 3, 4 different types of subscriptions to possibly find their football games on. So, for instance, some teams, they might be on ESPN Plus, they might be on Peacock, they may be on what was it? The one they had, it's the CW. Okay, you have all these different platforms, and then technically, they talked about Paramount Plus trying to get games, or somebody else with streaming, allowing it to be linear, and then on top of just Apple Plus. Man, you're making things a lot easier, and especially for a company that's already in the aspect of they're already doing it. They're making it easy. I can tell you for a fact, behind the scenes, Fox Sports is concerned. Okay. As you can imagine, that would be a major competitor. Fox Sports, obviously, really the major aspect of and really contributor to the Big Ten. Obviously, Fox, CBS, and NBC. Fox is really the biggest contributor out of all of those in terms of what the Big Ten is. The Big Ten's roughly going to be in that $80 to $100 million range. Now that they added more teams, including Washington and Oregon, I would say they're roughly going to be in that, because they're going to lose a little bit, probably in the $75 to $85 million range for the first 5 years at least, because they're going to be taking somewhat of a share, not a full share. Oregon and Washington will be taking, I think it's almost a little more than half a share. Then by 2031, they'll be able to get a full share when they renegotiate the media rights. For the ACC and SEC, this would be huge. Okay, obviously the SEC's already got $70 million, but if Apple really wants to compete and takes this on, you double down and give the SEC more money to compete with the Big Ten, and then you give the ACC with the ACC network. By them, now ESPN, an entity of Apple Plus, obviously Tim Cook, you're now a 50-50 equity partner with the ACC network. You provide more money there, and then you really build out on top of that, and then build a scheme where you either merge the SEC and the ACC to create one super league with the entire South and then the entire East Coast, viewership out the wazoo, or do you say, hey, you know what? I can have two separate entities, the SEC, the ACC, two different conferences, but then allow the ACC with Apple to go in and start plucking teams, whether it's from the Big 12, the potential teams that could fall off from the Pac-12, any other team, whether it's like an SMU or USF, but more importantly, probably some teams from the Big 12. This is the potential that this really brings. Okay. If this goes through, this would be absolutely insane. And it was funny hearing about this 4 days ago to where we are now. This is starting to hit the wavelengths and starting to get towards the media. They're not really talking about it yet, but now it's going to really start getting out there. That's why I wanted to talk about this today, because now it's clearly moving in the right direction. And that now at Wall Street, the Wall Street journalists, the Wall Street analysts are now all saying this deal is a no-brainer. ESPN, in the relationship that Bob Iger has with Tim Cook, obviously both, Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, Bob Iger, the CEO of ESPN, Disney. That's a huge deal. That's a major deal. So if something gets done here quicker than possible, this thing could really turn in terms of what this could potentially look like in the landscape of college football. This would be Apple really getting involved with college athletics and throwing billions of dollars to these conferences, and to really decide to really go to war with Fox Sports. We could potentially see it, more realignment, and really teams being dragged in more, and then the tables really turn and what this looks like. This would be interesting, guys. But I want to hear your thoughts, guys, from this article we talked about today. Apple really potentially going to make an offer to buy ESPN. It looks like they are going to buy ESPN and create an offer. What do you guys think? Do you guys think it's a good idea for the SEC and the ACC? Is it just a good idea for the SEC? Is it good for the ACC? Do you agree with me that it's good for both? Let me know. Comment down below. Subscribe to the channel, please. And of course, stay up to date, because we're going to be having some more information. When you subscribe, you'll get the updates and notifications here from the channel. So when we have people come on, maybe even get Bob Thompson on the podcast here to talk more about this and provide you guys with the best content available, but more importantly, staying up to date with all of college realignment, college athletics, but more importantly, college football. Guys, again, thank you guys so much. Subscribe, like the video, comment below. Let me hear your thoughts. Let's get the dialogue going. I want to hear from you guys. As always and forever, I'll be rooting for the ACC and the SEC, but also, too, hail to Pitt. I'll see you guys.